Ladies and gents, welcome back. It's your boy Rocco Yaps. And man, as the title says, they're cooking. Boxing is cooking right now. Um, Not only in the fights and all that, but there is a lot of other stuff going around in the boxing world. So much going on, and we're gonna talk about it for you. And I got it all in one video for you guys today to talk about. So, first thing on the list is that with the win over Mario Barrios and being the new WBC 147-pound world champion, the question for Ryan Garcia is what's what's next? Now um some people like me, for example, I believe he should fight Rolly Romero. There's just so many reasons to fight Rolly Romero. Not only do you get your lick back, you get your you know, you get to avenge yourself, you get to prove to the world that yes, I was in a bad mental state and physical state, and that's why he beat me. But not only the win over Barrios, but a rematch and winning against Rolly Romero, doubling down and proving to the world that, hey, I truly was at a terrible state in my life, and physically and mentally, I was just not there. And not only that, becomes unified. So you would become WBA and WBC world champion. And that would just make it a lot more juicier when we finally get the actual match we want for Ryan, which is Devin Haney, who is currently WBO world champion at 147. But obviously, with the tweets and everything, Ryan has been stated that his number one pick that he's been wanting as his potential next match is Shakur Stevenson. Now, the reason with Shakur, it's it's been all over the place. First, they're saying that Shakur goes up to 147, no problem, but he puts a rehydration clause on anybody. He said anybody who's at 147, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, Connor Ben, anybody who wants to fight him at 147 will have a rehydration clause. And Ryan stated that he never wants to go through that again. He had a terrible experience with Gervonta Tank Davis and having a rematch clause, and he said he never wants to experience that. He said he will go down to 144 at a catch weight as long as there's no rehydration clause. Then he started tweeting about saying, you know what, fuck the catch weight. I'll go all the way down to 140 and I'll fight you for your belt at 140 as long as there's no weight catch. And Shakur tweeted out saying like, now we're talking, now you're speaking my language, I'm down for this. You also had talks about how Devin Haney was trying to do negotiations with Ryan Garcia, but Ryan Garcia was being too, in his own words, quote unquote, he was saying he was being too unrealistic, and how Ryan was saying he's the A side, and that I guess certain demands were too much for Devin to take the fight. But in my opinion, if Shakur wants those big fights, have him move up. At 140, there is not much you can do other than fight guys like Richardson Hitchens. I think that would be a good fight. Um, they wouldn't be there wouldn't be guys to fight other than like he won't fight Keyshawn Davis, but Keyshawn has been wanting to go up to 147. Also, I don't know. He could fight maybe Pitbull Cruz. Maybe would be an exciting matchup for him. But I don't know. I just feel like if Shakur wants these big fights and whatnot, have him move up to 147. Especially since you're a champion at 147, I think it's worth the risk for Shakur to jump up, because if he beats you, not only does he beat you, but he becomes a 5 division world champion and just solidifies more and more his status and his legacy as a boxer. So I just personally think that Ryan Garcia should not look for the Shakur fight right now, and I think he should fight a unification bout. Now, with that, we have a unification bout that came out of nowhere in the WBO World Champion Devin Haney with 33 fights, 0 defeats, 0 knockouts. 0 draws, with 15 wins coming by knockout. is set to face off in a unification bout against WBA World Champion Rolly Romero with 17 victories, 2 defeats, 0 loss, 0 draws, 13 victories coming by way of knockout. It's rumored to also be a pretty much a done deal fight to be taking place in Brooklyn, New York, the 30th of May. But it still hasn't been officially confirmed. But it's just been, like I said, Twitter was going rampant. You had Ryan Garcia talking about potential matchups. He then also stated like, "Oh, I got an exciting announcement. Stay tuned. Stay ready for that." Then you had Rolly Romero calling out everybody under the sun, saying that Ryan's running away. Devin doesn't want to smoke. Manny Pacquiao didn't want to smoke, and he was asking for too much money. Now, in the mix of all that, we had Devin Haney being like, "You know what? Fuck it. If Ryan doesn't want to be realistic with what he's asking for in the contract in negotiations, I'll fight Romero. I'll beat the guy that beat the guy, and I'll unify while I'm at it." Which, in my opinion, makes sense. Like, if Haney wins this fight, it just makes the Haney versus Ryan more attractive. Now, since this is almost a pretty much done deal, Rolly Romero supposedly, him and his manager have stated that they have signed the contract and send it to Haney for Haney and his father slash manager to the ball's in their court, basically saying. Haney said it was a realistic contract, and Romero and his manager stated that they already signed the contract and the ball's in the Haney's court. So we'll just have to wait and see. But it's pretty much kind of like almost like a done deal. And since this is pretty much a done deal, I think Ryan should try to fight. I believe his name is Lewis Crocker, who is the IBF world champion at 147. So it's like, in my opinion, while they're doing this, go fight Lewis Crocker. Go fight him. Become IBF and WBC world champion. That way, if Haney wins and becomes WBO and WBA world champion, and you guys rematch, you guys will be fighting for the undisputed and Ring Magazine titles at 147 pounds. It would be bigger than ever. It would be bigger than if they fought now. So if they're both just one fight away from being undisputed in the rematch against each other. Haney's already making the move and being in a unification bout against Romero, that if he wins, he comes out with 2 belts. So Ryan, all he has to do is go fight Lewis Crocker, claim the IBF belt, and now anytime you guys get in the rematch, it'll be for undisputed, and the winner will be undisputed at 147. And I think that's the perfect way to like of this saga between Haney and Ryan, to kind of like the storyline. It would just be perfect that the rematch, and this time they're both looking better, will be for undisputed at 147 in a weight class that's more like more for them, more easy on their body, more for them that they're comfortable in. So I like this match. I can't wait for this to officially take place and happen in May 30th. But I think while this is going on, I really do believe that Golden Boy slash Ryan should really focus on getting Lewis Crocker in the ring with Ryan Garcia. So that way, like, late this year or early next year, we get the unexpected and the anticipated undisputed rematch between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia if they win their matches. But let me know what you guys think on that one. Now, moving on. Is he stripped or not? Is he still the IBF? Is he not still the IBF champion? That's the deal with it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Joe Pataya is the IBF and Ring Magazine Cruiserweight World Champion of the world. World Champion of... I don't even know. It's late. My bad. But he is currently at 30 victories, 0 draws, 0 defeats, 23 victories come by way of knockout. He just had recently, he signed recently with Zuffa Boxing, and he literally, like, the recording of this video he had 2 days ago. No, yesterday, he had his first fight with the promotional company of Zuffa Boxing, and it was for the cruiserweight world title at Zuffa. So Zuffa's world title for the cruiserweight division, and in winning this belt, he made history in not only being the first person to be a cruiserweight world champion, but in general to be the first Zuffa boxing world champion. There's still, in any other division, there isn't any other world champion other than Joe Pataya in the Zuffa boxing promotion. But the big scandal wasn't the fight. The big talk wasn't the fight. The fight was, man, in my opinion, it's ass. All this talk about unification bouts, signing with Zuffa because you want legacy and you're chasing the big fights, and then you come up with this. It's just not my. It's just not what I expected for Joe. I understand. It seems like people are running, people are evading you, people don't want to fight you, but it's like, if Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing couldn't get you those fights, what do you think Zuffa Boxing is going to be capable of doing? Zuffa Boxing, number one, they don't even recognize the belts. So it's like, you want to be undisputed and whatnot. He doesn't even recognize those belts, and he has beef with the WC more specifically. And then the guy that you've been wanting the big fight with, which is Zurdo Ramirez, who, if you fight and win, you would be unified, IBF, WBA, and WBO, and Ring Magazine. His promoter is Oscar de la Hoya, who for the last like 10, 12 fucking years hates the fuck out of Dana White. Who's your promoter? So it's like, I don't understand what the fuck is the move to Zuffa Boxing when supposedly in your mind you want legacy and you want the big fights. How the fuck are you gonna get them now? But anyways, that's a whole video that I have planned on making about Zuffa Boxing and my thoughts on the whole thing. But that's just a little taste of what I feel. Now, the big scandal of the fight, because the fight itself wasn't even fucking anything, was that it was rumored that the IBF had stripped Joe Pataya just days, like around 2 days before the fight even happened. Because it was saying that uh, since Dana White is not, gonna recognize the world titles, that Joe Pataya is fighting somebody who isn't in the rankings for the IBF. For those who don't know, a world champion cannot fight somebody who is either not an ex-world champion, a current world champion at a different weight class, or is in the top 10 of that sanctioning body's ranking. So, for example, Teofimo Lopez, being the WBO world champion, was allowed to fight Shakur Stevenson, even though Shakur had never fought at 140, because Shakur was a current active world champion at 135. Or like how Manny Pacquiao was able to fight Mario Barrios for the WBC 147-pound world championship belt because Manny Pacquiao was an ex-world champion. Obviously, 8 division world champion. Or you fight somebody who's in the top 10 for the IBF. Those are the 3 rules for a world champion to have a fight with somebody. They have to fit one of those 3, and if they don't, it's not sanctioned, it's not allowed. And the guy he was fighting isn't any of those. He isn't a current world champion at a different weight class. He's never been a world champion, so he's not an ex-world champion, and he's not in the top 10 for the IBF at cruiserweight. So, that was why the rumor was going around that the IBF was going to strip Joe Pataya because it just didn't fit any of the 3 criterias. And then it was supposedly confirmed that he did get stripped. But it's weird because Joe has been the whole press conference leading up to the fight and even after the fight and even during the ring, like you see in the photo, he still showed up with the belt. He's been parading it around, but he's been saying that it's all good, that's all internet bullshit, that the IBF and him are good, and that he paid his sanctioning fee for the fight, and that he um, he's not stripped. That he's still IBF world champion, and that he still is going to continue trying to get the big fights. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now he also was asked if he would fight the winner between Zurdo and Benavides. That's going on in May 2nd. And in his words, he said, "I'm not gonna wait that long. I'm gonna have a fight. I'm gonna have a fight even before they fight, and then who knows? We'll see. I'll try to make that fight later in the year. So we'll see. But like I said, if you guys want my opinion on Zuffa boxing, that's a whole different video I have planned. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good move that sanctioning bodies do that. That they go, hey, you want to go with Zuffa? You're not gonna be world champion anymore. So let me know if I'm tripping or not. But moving on, the Matchroom talent agency. What the fuck is going on? Tom Aspinall signing with Matchroom, but is he in the UFC? Don't worry, I got you, fools. So Matchroom Boxing, as you may know, is one of the five families, one of the five biggest promotional companies in boxing. Has created a new department in the company called Matchroom Talent Agency, which it just basically means that the purpose of this agency is just to get you the recognition and the money you deserve, no matter what your talent is. So you could be a fucking singer, you could be a skateboarder, you could be a fucking influencer, whatever the case may be. But as long as it's a talent that brings fame and money, they have an agency that's basically like a management agency. They're gonna be your managers, and they're gonna help you try to get you as much money and recognition and sponsorships and all that as you deserve, no matter what your talent is. And in this case, the first ever person to sign to this agency is Tom Aspinall, who's the UFC undisputed heavyweight world champion. And he signed with the, he's still with the UFC, he's still in a contract with the UFC. But according to Tom, this isn't breaking any rules or regulations or anything in the contract by signing with Matchroom Talent Agency. And that Matchroom is basically going to just be his manager for when he goes to these when he set up fights for the UFC and negotiate money and try to get him sponsorships and try to get him deals, try to push his name out there. But more importantly, they're going to get him as much money as they can in the negotiations when he tries to fight in the UFC. Now, people obviously are taking this as, Eddie trying to take a jab at Dana White for, you know, taking Conor Ben from him. I don't see it this way because he's not really even taking him. It's not like Tom is now a heavyweight prospect in Matchroom. He's not. Like I said, he's still a UFC fighter. He's still under contract with the UFC. And Tom himself even said that right now boxing isn't something I aspired to do. It's still MMA that I aspire to practice and have as my career. So it's not even like that. In my opinion, it's not even like that. Could be in a little way to be like, hey, we're signing Tom. Especially since the news broke out, it was like we didn't even know it was for a talent agency. We didn't even know what it was. It was just, oh, Tom Aspinall is now signed with Matchroom Boxing, and everybody's just like, what the fuck is going on? So, but yeah, it's just for a talent agency. Now, moving on, we have the return of Tim Tszyu, who's going to, with his 26 victories, 18 of them by knockout, 3 defeats, 0 draws, will be facing off against Dennis Nurha of 20 victories, 0 defeats, 0 draws, and 9 KOs. This is a 10-round bout for the WBO International Middleweight title. And it's funny because it's for that belt, but it's supposedly rumored to be at a catch weight of 157 pounds. So, uh, I don't know. It's weird. It's a WBO International Middleweight, which is 160 pounds, but Tim Tszyu fights at 154. Nurha fights at 160, but they're at a catch weight of 157. It's a whole weird thing. But For those who don't know, this fight is interesting because it was first rumored that Tim Tszyu was in serious negotiations to have a summer blockbuster fight against Errol Spence Jr. But that Tim Tszyu said that he wants to get a fight before facing off against Errol in Australia. That he wants to fight someone in Australia before he gets in the fight with Earl. And apparently it's true. So it may seem that it's true that Earl and him are going to fight in the summer, as long as Tim Tszyu, you know, wins this outcome against Nurha. Now, in my opinion, I think he does beat Nurha. I think Tim Tszyu just has way more experience. He's been looking good with his new team. He has good power. He's more focused, and he's always been disciplined. But yeah, so it's confirmed. It's basically looking like it is a confirmed thing that Tim Tszyu and Earl Spence Jr. are gonna get in the ring later in the year, around summer, late summer. So can't wait for that. Now the return of somebody else has been a fucking seems like forever since this was been in the ring, but the WBA, WBO, IBF, and Ring World Champion at 175 pounds, Dimitri Bivol, with 24 victories, 12 of them by knockout, 1 defeat, and 0 draws, will be facing off against his IBF mandatory challenger and Michael Eifert, I don't know how to say it, with 13 victories, 5 of them coming by knockout, 1 defeat, 0 draws. This is the return of Dimitri Bivol since his back surgery he had late 2025, around like October, I think it was. So he hasn't fought since February of last year, with that fight being obviously against the rematch where he became undisputed and he won the rematch against Beterbiev. But then after that, there was negotiations for him to fight Benavides, and they fell off. Then there was negotiations of him having a trilogy fight with Beterbiev, but it fell off. And then he got back surgery, and it's just now we're here. So it is said that his return to the ring before big fight is going to be his IBF mandatory. He's gonna get out the way, and then he's gonna return to either possibly a fight with Beterbiev, close that trilogy off, or we get to see the anticipated matchup that we want to see between David Benavides and him, which him facing off against David Benavides would be for undisputed. So if he beats David Benavides, it would be two-time undisputed world champion at 175 pounds. And it's a matchup that we all want to see. So I can't wait. It's also rumored that this will take place in the undercard. This will most likely be the co-main event for the fight that's going to take place in the pyramids of Giza between Usyk and Verhoeven in Egypt. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good co-main event. I think it's just a better way of just stacking up that Egypt card. Now, Shakur is stripped. What do I mean by this? Now, like I said earlier in the video, Shakur was the current reigning and defending 135-pound WBC world champion. He moved up to fight Teofimo Lopez for the WBO 140-pound world title. Now, in doing so, for those who don't know, when you pay sanctioning fees to the bodies of the belts that you belong to. For example, when Shakur fought Cepeda and Shakur had to pay a percentage of their earnings to the WBC because that's what the belt they were fighting for. But the weird thing about this situation is, like I said, the belt they were fighting for at 140 was for the Ring Magazine and the WBO. The WBO belt was on the line at 140, and it was very weird because Shakur tweeted out saying how the WBC had asked him to pay a sanctioning fee of $120,000 for his fight against Teofimo Lopez. But Shakur said that he wasn't going to pay that because he wasn't fighting for them, that he didn't fight for the belt, which to me, I am in total agreement. I feel like sanctioning fees are a part of the boxing thing. It's part of the history. pay them. It's okay. You pay them, but in my opinion, when you start asking for more money, like when they did with Crawford, that's a problem. And then this, in my opinion, it's a problem when you start to be like, hey, you had a fight, pay us. But it's like, why do I have to pay you? Your belt wasn't on the line. I didn't fight for the WBC 140-pound belt, nor did we fight for my belt at 135. We fought for the WBO belt at 140 pounds. Why should I be paying you? And in response, the WBC apparently said, all right, fuck you then, and stripped him of his title at 135 pounds, making him no longer the WBC World Champion at 135 pounds. And now he's the only thing he has right now is that he's Ring Magazine and WBO 140-pound champion. But at 135, it's just a regular Joe. He ain't no champion no more. It seems that Shakur may be staying at 140. I feel like, especially after this, he probably is going to be staying at 140, but nothing is confirmed yet. But with that, we have the summer fucking showdown that'll be going on in the summer of this year. Two mega fights, possibly in the same night. Now, we have Pitbull versus Tank Davis 2, the rematch that we've been wanting since their fight back in December 5th, 2021. Holy shit, that was a long time ago. But yeah, since then we've been wanting this rematch and it just never came. Every time Tank was asked about it or put on the spot about it, he just clearly said nope. But now, apparently, his return to the ring after his legal disputes has landed him fighting Tank between Tank and Pitbull and doing the rematch that everybody's been wanting after a long time. Now, reportedly, in advanced negotiations for the fight they're very serious. Apparently, the negotiations are very serious. Apparently, the rematch will be taking place at 140 as well, which is the weight class that Pitbull fights at and was even world champion before losing his belt. Um, Funny enough, both of these fools, the last time they were in the ring, they both not only fought the same fighter in Lamont Roach, but they both had the same outcome where they drawed against him. So that's pretty funny. Uh, this fight is most likely going to take place in Las Vegas. I don't see this taking place anywhere else, but nothing yet has been confirmed. Now to my right, as you can see, I have Lamont Roach, which is ordered by the WBC to fight William Cepeda in a world title fight. Now, like I said, Shakur was stripped of his world title at 135 pounds. And in order to claim a new champion, they said, hey, how about we have Lamont Roach and William Cepeda fight for it, and the winner becomes the new WBC 135-pound belt. My opinion, like I said, I don't like the way they're moving. I don't like the way they conduct themselves lately in terms of the WBC. But in my opinion, I can't help but like this. I just like this matchup. I don't like the reason that the matchup is happening, but I like the matchup, and it sucks because it's like, damn, like you got me. WC, you got me. Hey, hands up, you fucking got me, fools. Like, I'm hating on the way you guys are moving. Currently, I feel like you fools are tripping. Out of any of the four sanctioned bodies, I feel like WC is the worst one in terms of currently right now how they're tripping. But man, I think this matchup is good, and both parties apparently have 30 days in order to come up with some form of contract. If not, I guess they're just gonna move on with somebody else or something of that nature. But it is rumored also that this will be the co-main event for the fight that I just mentioned to your left between the rematch of Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Gervonta Tank Davis. I just can't wait. That if this is real, it seems like Gervonta is trying to get his lickbacks in terms of his two toughest fights were the closest he ever came to losing was against Pitbull Cruz, which people think Pitbull was robbed. Some people think he won. Some people think it was a draw. Gervonta Tank Davis came out with the unanimous decision victory. People feel like that was a robbery. Gervonta broke his hand in that fight. I don't care what you guys say. You fools be like, oh, but he broke his hand. Yeah. How do you think he broke his hand? You know, he broke his hand by getting punched so hard by Pitbull on that specific spot that it broke. So, and you got to remember, Pitbull was a 3 week late notice. For those who don't remember, Tank was originally gonna fight Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero got into some legal issues and couldn't fight. Late replacement, they found Isaac Pitbull Cruz, and Isaac Pitbull Cruz gave him the fight of his life. So imagine what 5 pounds extra and an actual training camp for him could do. We'll just have to wait and see. But it seems like he wants to get his lick backs and saying like, okay, I beat Isaac Pitbull Cruz in a rematch. This time he's in a late replacement. This time it's in a weight class that he's more comfortable in, and I beat him. And then go after Lamont Roach and be like, hey, it was just an off night. Lamont Roach ain't shit to me, and I could be both of these fools. But I feel like first it was a good idea for me that he first went with Isaac Pitbull Cruz before then going off to go fight maybe like Lamont Roach. So let me know what you guys think about Tank's decision on coming back and the opponent he picked. I think it's a good opponent to come back to. Is it a little bit risky? Yes, and that's very weird and new for Tank to do anything that's really risky. That's not something he normally does in his career, take risks. Actually, he's never done that at all. So it's just very, very new and exciting that he decided, hey, I'm going to take this pretty big risk as my first fight back in a while to be against, Isaac Pitbull Cruz at 140. Like, he's not even making him come down to 135. He's saying, I'll go up to 140. But, like I said, let me know what you guys think about that. And, yeah, those are new so far. Everything that's come out. Not everything, but if you don't keep up with my shorts, hey, what can I tell you, man? Keep up with my shorts. You'll know everything as well that's happening the same day. But, thank you guys for taking time out of your day and taking time to watch this video. Thank you for listening to me yap, but I've yapped long enough. Make sure to check out my other stuff. If you're subscribed, thank you very much. But if you're not subscribed and or you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. It lets me know to keep going. That I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'll keep you guys updated on any future stuff. With that being said, have a good one. God bless. I'll see you guys next time.